Welcome back. In this video, I want to give you an overview of our main activity.kt and explain you what's going on there and what all of the code pieces are, at least on a very high level, because we haven't really looked at what code really is and how code works and all of that. But that's something that we're going to build up over the next few days. It's really important for you to just trust the system, just follow along step by step, and trust me, please, because I have taught this to thousands of people already, and I'm really happy to teach it to you as well. I have honed my skill a lot, and I have become a lot better at explaining it over the years. And I started with Android education, or like Android courses, creating Android courses, now 11 years ago. All right, so I've gotten a lot better over time. So let's get started and look at this code here. So I'm going to get rid of the split screen. I want to focus on the code only. So what we have here is this thing called package eu.tutorials.myfirstapp. This is the name that we gave our applications package at the beginning when we created the application. So the app we called My First App, but the package name is what we selected as EU tutorials My First App. At least that's what I did, right? The default was com.example the name of the application. So in my case, it's EU tutorials My First App. So every file that I have inside of this package can be used by other files inside of the package by default, at least on a very high level. Okay, so then there's this thing import, and you can see here on the left hand side, this says 1, 2, 3, and then suddenly it jumps to 14. So what is going on here? Well, there is this import ... So it says that there is code that is hidden from us. And this is code which isn't directly relevant to a degree for us as developers at the moment, but is really important for our program to execute as it should. So let's click on this little arrow here, and we will see that it opens this big chunk of code for us. So it says import android.os.bundle, then import androidx.activity.componentActivity, and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. So what is this stuff that is going on here? So the code that is here is basically saying, hey, Android, give me all of this other code and the functionality so that my application will run. So because without this code here, none of that code down here would work, because how a component activity is supposed to behave is defined inside of this component activity import that we have here. So basically these are libraries that we are using. And what are libraries? Well, you could actually imagine it as being a library full of books. And we are using many different libraries here, as you see. We're not just using one library, we're using many different libraries, and they have a bunch of books that have a lot of code in them, and we say we want to use this code, or at least give me the code made ready so that I can use it throughout the application, so that my code knows what to do. So without it, our application wouldn't know how to run. All right, and there is a bunch here. So you see activity, compose, and so forth. So all of this compose stuff is something that has been added with Jetpack Compose, which has been around since I think Android 11. So since a few years, and that's basically Google saying, hey, we want to change the way we build Android applications. And now we're at the point where Jetpack Compose is, or like Android Compose, they change the naming all of the time, but basically where Compose is the main way of writing user interfaces inside of Android applications. So before that it was XML, which in my opinion is a lot easier to consume, a lot easier to build your user interfaces around. But from a, I'd say like architectural point of view, it's just better to use Compose, which is why Google also went this way and like extended it. And some people don't like it, some people prefer XML and so forth. But you would still need XML nowadays when building applications that are legacy applications. So basically you are working for an employer and they have this application that has been around for many years and it is all in XML. Then you would need XML. But if you're building a new app from scratch, you don't need that anymore. Okay, so we're going to go over XML a lot later in the course, just for you to know, but it's really important for you to understand this generally. All right, so these are the imports that we have here. And we see here at the very end, we have this thing called EU tutorials, my first app, .ui.theme, my first app theme. So where's that coming from? Well, you can go to your project, and then you will see that inside of your application, you have this thing called UI theme. So this folder, UI theme, and then it's called my first app theme because our app is called my first app, and then it's accessing this theme here. Okay, the theme of the app. So basically how the application should look like in the sense of which colors should it use, which font should it use, and stuff like that. It's by default defined here for us. Okay, so these are the imports, and I'd say maybe it's good enough for this video. And we're going to make a break here, and in the next one we're going to look at what this main activity and component activity and stuff like that does, because otherwise it would be a way too long video. So have a quick break, just make sure that you understand that we are basically just using these libraries that are a bunch of code that allows us to write our own code a lot easier instead of having to write everything ourselves. So basically Google has done all of the work for us. Thanks to all of those developers who have done that. Otherwise, it would be a lot more difficult for us to write beautiful and great working apps. So see you in the next video.